opportunity short. Critical! Meltdown! The reactor! Lose everything!
The Destiny 2 dungeons are awesome. For all the flack some people will give the game, sometimes for good reasons, and other times just... It's been surprising that the most well-received aspect up to this point has been the dungeons. We started with the Shattered Throne in Forsaken, then to the Pit of Heresy from Shadowkeep, Prophecy came out during Season of Arrivals, Grasp of Avarice with the 30th anniversary, and during Witch Queen, we got 2 new dungeons with the Dungeon Pass. With Season of the Haunted, we got Duality, and now with Seraph, we got the most recent dungeon that I'm talking about today, Spire of the Watcher. Out of all the dungeons, I was unsure what to think about for this one. My initial thoughts were honestly kind of negative. I didn't like the mechanics, I didn't like the encounters, especially the last one, but now that I'm just writing all this down and making this video, what do I think about it? Well, let's see. My name is Solar, and today we'll go through what is the most fun and creative dungeon as of yet in Destiny 2, Spire of the Watcher.
An old acquaintance among the hidden tells me that a Seraph complex recently powered on for the first time since the collapse. Shortly thereafter, Vex incursions were reported. Anna flagged the site as a potential pillory bunker. If the Vex gain access to its systems, they'll use it to wrest Rasputin's submine data away from us. It would be catastrophic.
So to give context on why this is happening, Osiris, the character who's been unconscious since Season of the Lost because of Savathun, has recently woke up because of Nezarec tea. I love this game. While Saint would celebrate with him, this would be cut short by his ramblings about all the things he saw when he was unconscious. One of them being of a place, Neptune. He saw something that was going to happen, but because of what happened with him being controlled, no one believed him. Not even Ikora, his own student, believes him. As this was released during Season of the Seraph, our goal of the story was to find Seraph stations to protect them from the enemies. One station was spotted to have been activated for the first time since the collapse. Osiris asks to see the bunker, believing the Golden Age technology will help him find his answers, but because he's mortal now, Ikora only lets him send a fire team to see what's inside the bunker. I have to say, I really like the fact that this is already hinting about what's going to happen at Lightfall, but it's done in a way that's still going to leave a lot of mystery. Now let's actually talk about the dungeon mechanic. Instead of just reading symbols or gambit over and over again, we get something different. The main mechanic of this dungeon has us defeat a Minotaur that drops the buff Arctrition. This buff allows you to shoot nodes across whatever location we are to open things like doors. Yeah, this whole dungeon has us just become electricians. And I love it. That's the thing about these dungeon mechanics. They can be simple, but they work so well to fit in a dungeon and not be extensive like a raid mechanic. This isn't supposed to be a negative, but I think this is why the mechanics of Deepstone Crypt work so well. It's used again for the Revision Zero mission. It's super simple and fun. What isn't fun is that these Vex bring in the supplicants. These harpies are the ones that charge at you and explode. They're somehow more annoying than when they were in Garden. Actually, scratch that. No, I was just going through Garden and Salvation. They're both equally bad. Also, here's a tip that I learned while going through the opening. The first arc node completed will spawn the supplicants, so you can save all the wires to the last one and they won't spawn.
Or rather, the witness. The Ishtar Collective in a Seraph complex.
After going through some vents, we hit to a short jumping puzzle, and I just want to say how much I love this Swarmine aesthetic. Just like the Braytech facilities from Deepstone Crypt and Operation Seraph Shield, the aesthetic is so well done that I can't get enough of it, especially with this room feeling straight out of the Cold War era. You also get a sneak peek at the final boss who's just walking by. Also, a neat detail is that the lower you go to the floors of this area, the facility itself plays music like the nodes do from Warmind. As we go through the top and see some stunning wood finish, we head to the first encounter, the Climb. Once you see the encounter, you'll understand why I call it that. The encounter is more of a showing as to how the wire mechanics are going to be used. There will be 2 openings for the wires, and you'll have to shoot the next open node in order so they connect and you can go up to the next level. Do this 2 more times and that's it. That's the encounter. It's incredibly easy and simple, but to me, that's not a bad thing. If it's fun, that's all I care about. Deepstone Crypt has some simple mechanics and encounters, but it's incredibly fun to go through and it's in my opinion the most replayable grade in the game right now. The only real challenge comes from the ads, which is thankfully not as annoying, but it does get done with the Hydras. I don't have much more to add, other than the glitch that allows the right bumper attack for Shadebinder Warlock's super to auto-connect wires without seeing them. It's actually a pretty fun feature and I like doing it as to see how fast I can go. Oh, come on.
A Complex mine remains in this terminal like an open door. It's using the tower's arrays to connect with installations across Seoul. This must be in preparation to imprison the submines. Breaking their connection could end this threat.
So as we continue, we not only get a beautiful view of Mars, we reach the top of the Spire, and the first boss is the same model from Garden. You know, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Let me talk about this before we continue this encounter. And you know what? I'm just gonna play some goofy music because that's how I think of people using this argument. For some reason, there has been a complaint. Well, honestly, yeah, I would say a criticism, but it's more of a complaint, at least the way I see it, of the reuse of boss assets. I'm gonna be blunt. I do not care. I really don't mind or care about the reuse of assets from content that's in the game or even content from the vault, especially if the content is being used in a different way. The new exotic mission, Seraph Shield, has a similar layout to the Morningstar in Deepstone Crypt, aka the ship, but not only is it mostly an entirely different layout, it still feels very different. All the dungeons have reused boss designs. Let me list them off really quickly. Zolmak from Pit of Heresy has a similar design from Urox. Prophecy just uses Taken bosses. Grasp has the Ogre and Captain. Duality uses Galler, and Spire uses the model of the Concentrated Mind from Garden of Salvation. But here's the thing, all of these bosses have different mechanics from their past. Galron's encounter from Duality is completely different from his fight in Crown of Sorrow. This also goes for the boss here, being Akalos, who has the same model as the Concentrated Mind, but the encounter is somewhat different than the one from Garden. This encounter has us connect the wires to 4 fuel rods. Connecting all 4 rods causes the boss's shield to overload, and like the Consecrated Mind, we have to shoot the eyes to open up its core, and that's how you damage the boss. This boss also moves back from you, and at the end of the DPS, he causes an explosion that can and will push players off platforms. I don't know how popular or unpopular this is, but I much prefer this encounter over the one in Garden. One of the reasons is the arena. All 4 fuel rods are at a different location, and the platforms are very slim and can be dangerous to pass through, with the other reason being that I just hate the gambit mechanics in Garden. Even though I don't really mind it that much in Prophecy and Grasp, the mechanics here are just more fun and engaging than Garden. Especially that connecting in the wires can be pretty chaotic with all the ads that spawn in. If you can't tell, I really don't like Garden of Salvation. But that's a story for another time. After repeating the process over and over again, we finally beat Akalos.
Their foe breaks, and so does their hold over the security systems. Perhaps now we can... No! They're driving the reactor core to a meltdown. It's going prompt critical. Those power surges were intentional. Get to the reactor, lest we lose everything.
As we go inside the Spire, we get another version of the wire mechanic being the red wires, where they all have to be shot in a short amount of time to continue. I don't really have much to add about what else happens, other than these nodes have generic Wild West sounds when shot, and I love it. So after the fans and electric room, we head to the final encounter of the dungeon, Persis Primordial Ruin. I hated this boss when it first came out. I hated the supplicants, I still do. The fact that you can't start the encounter without the arc conducting, which kinda gets annoying. Doing it again to overload the boss's shield, and how hard hitting the boss can be up close due to the fact that he's a wyvern. I hated this a lot. Now, I like it. After the arc conducts have been shot, you need to find the 2 open wires to shoot the conduct into the reactor and drag the boss into it so that when the arc conducts are sealed, the boss is inside the room, and that's how you start DPS. The DPS is kind of crazy because this boss has a metric truckload of health, which kind of makes me say Kaido has the better encounter. Even with how punishing that boss is with the bells, I find it more rewarding and fun. Even with me saying that, this is still a fun boss fight with a really good design, as this is the first wyvern we see with the Garden of Salvation style. After we beat the boss, it stops the core from overloading, saving the Spire, and we finish the dungeon.
This was a clever incision by the witness. A multi-front attack. Sabotage us, glean knowledge, and annihilate any trace of advantage. Extrasolar colonies. Ages ago, Saint and I thought we'd leave the city once we'd made it safe. We'd explore the universe, That time never came. A matter of finite seconds lost in the margins then. Now, there's only the want of more. But we learn to make do, young wolf, and turn the edge of defeat into victory.
I still think my statement holds true. Despite how negative I felt I was towards this dungeon, I still think it is one of the most fun dungeons we've gotten. But of course, outside of the mechanics, we all know why we're playing this game for: loot. Starting off, we got a cowboy armor set. Coming after the underwhelming Deep Explorer armor from Duality, it's great to see a good set of armor somehow fitting the dungeon, especially with the warlock robes that We also got the weapons. The 360 RPM machine gun, it exists. The grenade launcher introduces a new archetype called Double Fire. This means the gun shoots 2 grenades from one shot. I'm also glad that my first drop of the weapon was the exact roll I wanted. The sidearm is an aggressive 2 burst, so it automatically makes it amazing like Breach Light. It can also roll with Headstone in the first perk column, but the second column can roll with Rangefinder, Kill Clip, or Desperado. Yes, a perk that usually is on pulse rifles now rolls on the sidearm, and it's amazing. But of course, like the Stormtation Duality, we got another unique weapon in the game, and one I am still grinding for even to this day: the Long Arm Scout Rifle. This is the legendary version of Dead Man's Tale, as it introduces a new aggressive frame for scout rifles. The gun can roll with Rapid Hit, Explosive Payload. I seriously want to roll with Explosive Payload. I don't care if it's something like Compulsive Reloader in the first column, I need it. We also see the return of the 7th Seraph Auto Rifle and Hand Cannon. They just exist, kind of like the machine gun. These aren't like the fixed odds or that other fusion from Duality where it can be crafted, or even has cool rolls like Incandescent. All the main dungeon weapons roll with the text balanced stock origin trait. This trait allows it that hipfire damage gives the weapon increased handling, reload speed, and more for a limited time. I think it's okay. Fits the style of the Wild West weapons, but when you have, say, auto-loading holster in the GL like I do, it's kind of useless. The exotic weapon is Hierarchy of Needs. The bow can build up energy with precision hits to make a ring. The ring can be launched by hip firing, and this ring, when used, allows the arrows to seek enemies and do more damage when they are shot further. Also, it's been found that the bow can make warmine cells, but also shooting a warmine causes the ring to increase in size. I love how this exotic has such a unique interaction with other things in the game, and hopefully warmines get buffed so they can make this more viable. And it had to be the day before this TWAP came out. Thanks Bungie. There's also the triumphs, which continue the trend of allowing you to do specific triumphs to increase the chances of getting the exotic, which is seriously a fantastic feature. Not only does it let you do different challenges for extra luck on exotic, it's a feature I hope we see in future raids. So what now? Well, Osiris now believes that the visions he had will help him reveal what he saw in his dreams. That help comes from whatever else is inside the Spire, and maybe the data of the exploration can help him find the secrets of Neptune? Who knows? There's also a lot of extra lore like Aramis and the consequences she had to deal with after her failure in Season of the Plunder. With all that, we reached the end. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I am super happy with how this turned out in the end, with footage, audio, all to make this video way more presentable than it originally was. If you have any thoughts about this dungeon, or leave it down in the comments. I really am curious of what other people think about it. Anyways, have a great day.